Introduction to the Flutter Tic Tac Toe game. Creating a Tic Tac Toe game is a popular project for Flutter developers, as it allows you to combine both UI design and game logic. Flutter, as a powerful UI framework, enables developers to easily craft interactive mobile applications, and building a game like Tic Tac Toe offers a great opportunity to learn essential Flutter concepts while creating an engaging, interactive app. Tic Tac Toe is a simple two-player game that takes place on a 3x3 grid. The goal is for players to take turns marking an empty spot on the grid with either an X or O, aiming to get 3 of their marks in a row, column, or diagonal. The game ends when either one player achieves this or when all spots on the grid are filled without a winner, a tie. From a development perspective, creating a tic-tac-toe game requires understanding several key components such as handling user inputs, tracking game states, detecting win conditions, and updating the user interface, UI, accordingly. This video tutorial will focus on 3 key aspects of building a tic-tac-toe game using Flutter: pattern matching, implementing winner detection, and modifying the UI of the game screen. Pattern matching. Pattern matching in the context of tic-tac-toe refers to identifying specific patterns within the game grid. The game requires that you check whether a player has placed their marker, X or O, in a way that forms a winning combination, 3 consecutive marks in a row, column, or diagonal. Understanding how to perform pattern matching is essential for determining when a player has won or when the game has ended in a draw. In this tutorial, we'll dive deep into how to implement pattern matching logic that can identify a winning combination. We'll cover how to track the state of the game board and how to check for these winning combinations across multiple directions. This is fundamental for the game's logic to function properly and allows us to detect a winner in real time as players take their turns. Winner detection. After implementing the grid and tracking player moves, the next important aspect is detecting when one player has won the game. Winner detection involves checking the state of the board to identify whether 3 marks, either X or O, align in a row, column, or diagonal. Additionally, we need to handle edge cases, such as when all cells are filled without any player winning, resulting in a draw. This section will focus on the core logic for determining the winner, providing a comprehensive understanding of how to continuously evaluate the board after each move. This process is necessary for ensuring the game's flow is accurate and that the user experience remains smooth and logical. Changing the UI of the game screen. While the game logic forms the backbone of any game, a visually appealing user interface enhances the overall player experience. Flutter makes it easy to customize the UI, and in this tutorial, we'll explore how to design an interactive 3x3 grid that responds to player taps, as well as how to dynamically update the UI based on the state of the game. In addition to the layout of the grid itself, we will also look into customizing the design to make the game feel engaging, from displaying player markers, like X and O, to providing feedback such as victory messages, animations, and a button to restart the game. These UI enhancements will not only make the game visually attractive but also improve its functionality by providing clear instructions and status updates to the players. By the end of this tutorial, you'll have gained a solid understanding of how to create a tic-tac-toe game in Flutter, including how to manage game logic, detect winners, and design an interactive and user-friendly interface. Understanding pattern matching in Flutter. Pattern matching in tic-tac-toe is the critical process that checks if a player has achieved the objective of aligning 3 of their symbols, X or O, consecutively in any direction, horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. This step is fundamental to determining when the game should end and declaring a winner. Flutter, as a UI toolkit, provides the flexibility to implement this logic by utilizing its built-in features for layout and state management. In the context of a tic-tac-toe game, the grid is usually represented as a 3x3 matrix. Each cell of this matrix can either be empty, marked with an X or marked with an O. The goal is to continuously check whether any row, column, or diagonal contains 3 of the same symbol. This pattern matching process is what makes the game interactive and dynamic. The first step in implementing pattern matching is to define the state of the game board. This board is typically represented as a collection of cells, with each cell containing the value of the player who occupies it. For example, a 3x3 grid might be represented as a 2D array or a list of lists in Flutter. The state of each cell can be represented by an empty string when unmarked, X when the first player makes a move, and O when the second player makes a move. Once the board is initialized, the game logic must include functions to check each row, column, and diagonal to determine if any of them contain 3 consecutive marks from the same player. A row consists of the 3 cells that are horizontally aligned, a column consists of the 3 vertically aligned cells, and a diagonal consists of the 3 cells that are aligned diagonally from the top left to bottom right or top right to bottom left. Checking for these patterns allows the game to identify if any of these conditions have been met, signaling that a player has won the game. Pattern matching also plays a role in preventing invalid moves. If a player attempts to mark a cell that has already been occupied, the app should disregard the action and prompt the player to choose another cell. This ensures that the game rules are followed strictly. It's important to note that pattern matching involves not only checking for winning combinations but also determining if the game has reached a state where no more moves can be made, resulting in a draw. This check occurs when all the cells are filled and no winning combination has been achieved. By implementing pattern matching correctly, you create the foundation for the game's logic. This ensures that each move made by the player is evaluated, and the game's flow is managed appropriately, allowing for a smooth and consistent gaming experience. How to implement winner detection. Winner detection is the process of determining if a player has won the game by placing 3 of their marks consecutively on the grid. After setting up the pattern matching logic, winner detection plays a crucial role in the game's flow. Once a player places their mark, the game needs to evaluate whether their action resulted in a winning combination. In Tic Tac Toe, a player wins if they manage to place 3 of their marks in a row, column, or diagonal. This can occur in multiple ways, and each scenario must be checked after every move. The player who successfully aligns 3 marks in any of these directions is declared the winner, and the game should stop further input and display the winning player's marker. However, if all cells on the board are filled and no player has achieved this goal, the game ends in a tie. The core concept behind winner detection is evaluating the game board after each move to see if any of the winning conditions have been met. This involves checking each of the rows, columns, and diagonals to see if they contain 3 matching symbols, either all XS or all OS. It's important to check the board after each move to ensure that the game reacts in real time, preventing any further moves once a winner is detected. Detecting the winner requires traversing the grid systematically. For each row, column, and diagonal, you compare the values of the cells. If all 3 cells contain the same symbol, either X or O, then that player has won. This is the simplest form of winner detection. However, in cases where the board is full but no player has won, the game should be able to detect a tie and notify the players that the match has ended without a winner. In addition to detecting the winner, the game must also manage the flow once a winner is detected. This means that once a winner is found, the game should lock the grid and prevent further moves from being made. A message should be displayed to announce the winner and prompt players to start a new game. In the event of a tie, the game should similarly inform the players and allow them to restart the match. Winner detection is an ongoing process that occurs after every turn. It's vital to ensure that the game checks the win conditions consistently and efficiently, without any delays, to provide a seamless experience for the player. By implementing solid winner detection logic, the game becomes engaging, ensuring players understand when they have won, when the game is a tie, and when it's time to restart. Changing the UI of the game screen. Creating a visually appealing user interface, UI, is a critical component of building a successful game. In the case of Tic Tac Toe, the user interface should not only be intuitive and easy to use but also interactive and responsive to player actions. The Flutter framework makes this process relatively straightforward by providing powerful UI components and layout mechanisms. The core UI element of a tic-tac-toe game is the 3x3 grid. This grid serves as the playing field where players will place their X or O markers. In Flutter, this grid can be created using various layout widgets, with grid view and row and column being some of the most common choices. These widgets allow you to structure the cells of the game board while ensuring the layout is flexible and responsive across different device sizes. The grid must be interactive, meaning that each cell must be clickable so players can place their markers. This requires using widgets that capture user input, such as the gesture detector widget, which listens for touch events on each grid cell. When a player taps a cell, the corresponding action should be triggered to update the board and alternate between players. In addition to the basic grid layout, the UI should also visually reflect the game state. This includes showing the current player's marker, X or O, in the tapped cells and updating the game screen dynamically as the game progresses. For instance, once a player places their marker, the cell should update immediately, providing real-time feedback. The UI should also visually display which player's turn it is, typically through a small indicator or text at the top of the screen.